Okay, just setting everything up right now. And sorry, that's the first time I've done that. But hi! If you don't know me, my name is Amanda and welcome to my channel, Novel Tea Books. So today we're gonna be doing a what I've been reading video, and it's been a really long time since I've done a video like this because I have honestly kind of been in like a reading slump, which really sucks, but I think that I am just getting out of it. I just don't think I've been reading any novelty books lately, so that sort of contributes to my downfall. Let's see, I'm in a different spot right now. We actually just set up this chair in our living room and I thought it would be a cute little corner to do a video and like kind of switch up the environment a little bit. Before I even talk about those books just yet, I want to discuss the books that I've bought recently, and that includes Rouge by Mona Awad. Now, I read Bunny a while ago and I thought it was really, really interesting. I'm really excited for this one. I first saw Big Book Lady post about it. I read the back of it and it seemed really interesting. It's about a girl whose mother dies and then she kind of gets introduced to this spa, but it's like culty and it's a spa that her mom either worked at or owned. Me and my mom picked this one up and we're really excited to read it. The next one that I recently bought is going to be Frankenstein by Mary Shelley. I have wanted to read this for so long. It's such a classic. I don't know, I've just been in a very spooky summer mood. I'm like obsessed with Summerween and I'm so upset that I didn't get to do anything for Summerween, but I picked up this book to sort of remedy that situation. And the last book that I bought fairly recently is Dracula. I'm really excited to read that one just because of the same reason as Frankenstein. I've been wanting to read spooky books during the summer, but I'm sort of caught between the books that I'm reading right now. Right now I'm reading Mockingjay, which has been a slow start. I am gonna be honest, I haven't been as invested in this book as the other books in the Hunger Games series. I just feel like there's not enough going on in it yet. You know, I just started, but I love Susan Collins, but her writing style is not one that I particularly enjoy. So I decided to also pick up Cersei. Now, I was supposed to read this one for the fall, and I just didn't. I am buddy reading this one actually with my friend Mia, and so I'm really excited to chat with her about what she thinks of the book. I already know she really loves it and she's like burning through it. Meanwhile, I'm on like chapter 4, and so I'm freaking out about that. So those are all the books that lie outside of this video. So I think you'll remember this lady, this woman. She is my reading journal that my grandma got me. I use it to prep for these videos. I write down in order of when I finished these books, every book that I have read, and I was updating it the other day and I realized I hadn't updated it in a while, so I've been kind of in this slump for a while. I feel like I haven't read any books that have really made me that excited about reading since maybe Bunny. Yeah, that's really tough to think about. That makes me actually really, really sad. Anyways, I use this to organize my thoughts, so I'm just gonna be kind of like scrolling through this. The last book I talked about was Big Chicas Don't Cry. And so today I'm going to be talking about the whole rest of everything that I've been reading. So the last book that I read was The September House. I don't know where I put the cover of this. It had a beautiful cover and I feel like I featured it in one of my videos and I was like talking about how beautiful it was. I think it was the fall TBR video, but I love the cover of this book. I will just start off by saying that I was kind of disappointed in this book. And I think when I look at my review now, I think I would probably rate it lower than I did. I rated it a 4.3. But this is like a mystery thriller book about a house that is basically haunted by this evil entity, but there are also kind and sort of friendly ghosts around, and this woman sort of struggles with fighting that evil spirit with the help of these other ghosts and the help of her daughter, and their relationship is kind of strange. So it features a lot of different charming elements, like the walls oozing blood, which it kind of opens with that idea and that setting of the scene, so it's really fascinating to see where it goes from there. But I will say, past that first point, it did not go the way I expected it to go, in a good way and a bad way. I almost wish there was more bite to the story, because I feel like part of the reason why I rated it so high is because it is very positive toward the end. You really gain a lot from that family trope and the found family trope and the support that each of these characters brings into the story, regardless of the very serious events in the story. But I almost wish it had a little bit more darkness to it. It kind of reminded me of A Good Girl's Guide to Murder in that sense, where I felt like this was horror light because it has so much to do with positivity toward the end. I wish it was a little bit like Ready or Not. You understand what I mean? Where there's like a bit of a revenge story going on. It just felt too good versus evil. I mean, there are certainly elements where you will question the main character and you'll be like, girl, you didn't notice this going on. You didn't notice this happening. But outside of that, it felt a little bit tame. This book is really just vibes, and then there's a storyline tied to it. So I think the author sort of started out with this overall idea of this house and the dynamics between the characters, but was like, okay, but how can I put that into a storyline? And I just feel like the story lacks a little bit of roundness, a little bit of wholeness. I love the situational horror aspect and the dry humor of Margaret's character, which is the main character in the story, and the certain ghosts and how they add to her life or subtract to her life. I feel like the dialogue was almost sometimes clunky and awkward, and so there are moments in the book that just feel uncomfortable, not because of the situation, but because of the way the dialogue was written. All in all, I love the imagery of the book. I feel like it really gives like almost Coraline cosmic horror vibes. I would really recommend this book to anyone who enjoys cosmic horror. I feel like it has some elements of that. It did have a little bit of a lackluster ending, but all in all, I loved the environment and the idea behind the book. I think that was really interesting, and it made for a really imaginative fall read. So the next book that I read during this time was actually Ruin and Rising. I already covered Siege and Storm, I think, in my other video, but I wanted to sort of touch on both. That Siege and Storm was probably my favorite of the trilogy because Ruin and Rising did it for me. Oh, she did it for me, but maybe just not enough. I rated this one a 4.3. I really love just sort of the way Le Bardugo writes. It feels very YA, but still it doesn't necessarily dumb down the topic for the reader. So if you are like an older reader, you probably wouldn't feel as silly reading it as maybe The Hunger Games, which kind of feels a little bit dumbed down at the very beginning. You just get none of that with these books. They are pretty well rounded. You have all these like characters that intertwine with each other, and you really get a sense of their found family and their forced proximity trope-iness. And I do sort of like thinking about mythology. I like thinking about gods. I like thinking about the legitimacy of the Bible. Like, let's not get into that. But I recently declared a art history minor, so stuff like that is really interesting to me. and I really enjoy the fact that they sort of go on this quest in search of something that they don't even know is real or not. The way that is turned on its back, and the elements of sacrifice and suspense and discovery, fluidity between these characters of love and hate, and what that means, and how that dynamic, that duo between the Darkling and Elena, how they match each other's energy a little bit more toward the end as Elena sort of accepts her power and realizes that because the Darkling has been in her life, he has changed her and she has changed him. It was a great summing up of the trilogy, and it feels a little bit more adult and a little bit more dark, and I would have loved to see all of this come to our screens. Netflix, why did you do this? Why did you cancel Shadow and Bone? I will never forgive you. Yeah, so I originally started this book series because I knew that the series was coming out on Netflix and I wanted to understand, the depth of the story, and I'm just like so happy that I decided to do that. I really am gonna miss it. I haven't reflected on reading this series since I finished it, and I really do miss it so much. Fun read, and I would literally recommend this trilogy to anyone, period. I don't care how old you are, I don't care if you don't adore fantasy. I think this storyline, it has something for everyone. Also, there were some banger quotes in this whole entire series. Like, there's a section of this where you have to put in a quote. I couldn't choose because there were a couple that are sort of reoccurring throughout the story, and I love that each book is tied together in that way. But there were just so many quotes that I was like, oh, that's deep. I'd love to reflect on that a little bit. Like, you can study this book even though it is fantasy, and I love that. So the next book that I read that is sort of a part of Ruin and Rising, because of the edition that I have, it's added on to Ruin and Rising toward the end of the book, is The Demon in the Wood, and this book dives into the Darkling's past when he was, I think, about like 11 or 7, around that age, and his relationship with his mother and how he sort of first began to, 1, hone his power, 2, learn about control, and 3, lose hope when it comes to love, and also use love as a tactic to get what he wants. His first beginnings as a male manipulator. Yeah, that's pretty much what this book is about. It's so good, and it is so impactful. I wish as many people were able to write short stories as great as Leigh Bardugo does. She packed just so much in this story that only covers one single event, really, in the timeline of the Darkling's life, but it really sets up how he behaves in the future. But it also doesn't give us a full explanation of why he is the way he is, because it's not really meant to do that. I don't think it's meant for sympathy. I think it's meant to understand that we are just made of our experiences, and sometimes that really gets to people and sometimes it doesn't. Sometimes people are able to see that they did a bad thing and then forget about it, but the Darkling, he has been used and abused by his mother and by so many different people, and he's been outcasted and also attacked because of his power, because of the dark power that he has, and he's been so misunderstood that how could he be any other way? Because he is a amplifier as well as a Grisha, he has this target on his back, and so him and his mom are always running from small village to small village, and finding allies is hard, and seeing his mother go through all that sacrifice for him is hard, and he's just dealing with a lot as a character, and I love that. I love that it's sort of stacked upon him, all this pressure, and it's a good study on how people can crack under pressure while others can strive to it, and I think he just sort of does both. I wish I could read this whole series again. I'm not kidding. I rated this one 5 stars because it was just that good. If you really like that complexity of character, you'll really love this installment of the series. I love the environment of Shadow and Bone, and I'm really excited to one day pick up Six of Crows. Okay, the next one that I read, I don't know if you're ready. The next one that I read was The Only Good Indians. This book is written by Stephen Graham Jones, and it's kind of thriller mystery. It deals with a lot of spirituality and folklore and indigenous livelihood. Oh, so hold on one second. So the September House was a book club pick, and so was this one. The Only Good Indians was picked by my sister, and it has a very strong revenge plot, but also touches a lot on family, and there's a sort of aspect of our roots and where we live and how that kind of intertwines with our future. Even if we move away, our home is sort of staying with us. I think it's so interesting the perspective that this book takes, that how doing these sort of ancestral practices incorrectly because of a disconnect between your culture and your land because of colonialism and because of people uprooting you and because of that injustice, how it really does impact the lives of indigenous people. I think this book is great. It has a lot of like gore scenes and like a very sort of visceral perspective on body horror. There's an element of recognition of how can we ever get back to our roots when this is sort of our reality that we're sitting with. Everything is so visual in this book that you can really see it in your mind and imagine the environment. It's very interesting to see it in my head, and so I really hope that they adapt this into a movie, because I think it would be great, and I think it's something that a lot of people would be interested in. But I will say that the book was incredibly long and drawn out, especially the ending. I believe the ending was interesting, but it sort of spans across like maybe 20 pages, and the situation doesn't escalate enough to warrant that 20-page ending. It was drawn out for really no apparent reason to me. I will say that I needed probably a little bit more from the revenge storyline. I needed more reason, or more like the main villain of the story. I needed a little bit more drive, and there's a bit of a reveal toward the end that doesn't feel like a reveal, because you know this villain's perspective this whole time. So I found, some of it very interesting, the way it was written. I did enjoy that there were chapters that covered the villain's perspective and switched between different characters. I thought that was really cool. I usually don't like books like that. I think I've said that before on this channel, but I really liked it in this particular case. I would also say that this book has some really amazing quotes as well. It's very introspective in that case. It touches on a lot of, daily life and how indigenous people, they just deal with so much pain and so much loss, and how this suffering is tied to history, and there's almost like this loss of hope in every character that makes you ache for them, that makes you want them to stay alive regardless of the mistakes that they've made. Yeah, it's incredibly interesting, and I think when I was reading it, I don't think I appreciated it enough, because the writing style was a bit hard to get used to. But I think, knowing what I know now about the book, I would love to read it again and sort of gain a new perspective on it. I ended up giving this book 3 stars, which, man, I'm just like switching up today so much. I feel like I would really give it like 4.3 like the other ones. I missed this one in a way too, because it was so interesting, and I was really wanting to know what happens, but at the same time it just dragged on so long that I had a problem with it. I don't know. This one it's so good. I just maybe wish it would have been shorter and spent less time in certain areas, more time in others, and so on. Okay, and the last book that I read was actually an audiobook and also an ebook. I read this one for my history class in university, and it was the Malcolm X autobiography. Now, this book is 466 pages long, so it's very long, but it's sort of a secondhand account of the life of Malcolm X. Such an important read. I think if you don't agree with someone's opinion on religion or someone's opinion on politics, I think regardless of that, you have to read this book and completely understand and empathize with the experiences of Malcolm X as a black man who is Muslim, whose father was completely martyred as well. I think you have to have empathy toward this person's life and their experiences. I love an autobiography. They're so important. I love hearing about other people's experiences. And this book just, I went through like a roller coaster of emotions where I was just like so disappointed in the way the world works, and especially with the genocide happening in Palestine. I think about this book and I immediately associate it with that because I think about how awful it is that people are martyred in the first place. How awful it is that such incredible violence is inflicted upon everyday human beings who have kids, who have a family. And Malcolm X was truly someone who went through so much as a young person and grew out of that through religion, and just it's so tough to read about that. Honestly, it's so tough to read about how much we failed him, continue to fail him, and continue to fail other political leaders, other civil rights activists, other people who promoted love, who promoted unity. But you have to read this and go, wow, it's so tragic. It's so incredibly tragic. I would seriously recommend this book to literally anyone ever. I rated this book 5 stars. I hope that was like a given. This is a person who did so much for his community, and he was hunted and attacked and driven to paranoia, bouts of paranoia, because of his experiences and because of what he went through, and how the trajectory of his life was just all coming to this one end, and how multiple times he could have died throughout his life, and it felt like, you know, toward the end, it was like it caught up with him. Seriously, I think about this book and I get very emotional and I get very disappointed, and I don't know. I think about it because sometimes, you know, when I'm reading something, it's so easy to go like, oh, this isn't real, or this is fiction. When I read an autobiography or a biography, I am forced to look at the idea, to face the idea that this is a real person. This is a real person whose life was taken. And I think we need to remind ourselves of that more often, especially when it comes to Palestine. These are real people doing the everyday things that you're doing, except this is their reality. And I think that's insane. And it's sad. And I hate it. So sorry about this fucking tragic ending, but I hope that you take away something from this video. Remind yourself of your humanity, people. But yeah, I think everyone should read that book, and if you don't have the funds to do so, there are certain online websites that you can use to educate yourself as a person of the public. I'll link that down below for anyone who's interested in reading it. I am excited to continue with another video of this, what I've read since New Year's, or what I've read since the New Year started, so since 2024 started. That'll be the next installment of one of these. I just posted my Sims YouTube video, which I hope you guys enjoyed that one. It's a little bit different, and I know I only did the exterior of the build, but I'm probably going to record the second part of that video soon and post what it looks like now, because I really expanded on, the storyline, and I saved a few spaces so that you can see what they look like as I put them together. But yeah, those are sort of the videos coming up, and we're coming up on the anniversary of when I started this channel, so I'm really excited about that. I'll probably do a special video for that. Thank you guys for watching this video. Make sure you like and subscribe if you want to see more from me and you want to give me a little bit of feedback. Give me a comment, and I will see you guys in the next video. Bye!